Previously on Sailing Bohemia, we sailed to Isla Partida, arriving in time for a lobster feast.
It's gonna be a lobster party.
Well, this was unexpected. We lost a solar panel from the Bimini in the gusty winds.
Because this is where the rocks are.
And we fought our way into the pond, a perfect anchorage with all-around protection, despite some mechanical failures.
So the anchor got stuck, the windlass just broke halfway.
The pond is a natural hurricane hole with all-around protection from the sea. Despite the narrow entrance that is only passable at high tide, once inside there is plenty of room to anchor safely. The tidal range in the Northern Sea was around 8 feet, and it really transformed our surroundings with every passing tide. Well, it was tougher than expected on all counts, but we're in, and it's beautiful. The reward is worth all the effort we had to put into it. So we're not going to be leaving in a hurry, believe me. Time for a beer? After the stress of our arrival, there was only one thing on everyone's agenda that evening.
We're just going to our friend's boat, Makani, to have some drinks for the sunset. After the day we've had, I think we deserve it. Oh, I certainly do. This is me. What are you drinking?
Seawater.
What are you drinking?
Seawater at this rate. It was great to share some drinks and take in the beautiful sunset before facing the chores of the next day. I need to get to the bottom of this problem with the Windlass. And in order to do that, everything from the V-berth, which is our garage, our storage closet, had to come out. And of course the Windlass, the workings of the Windlass are in the hardest possible place to reach, right behind this panel. I think the gear oil inside this gearbox is leaking out of the Windlass. The good news is the gear casing isn't cracked, which would be a real nightmare and very difficult to fix. Maybe you would just need a new gearbox.
And the bad news is it leaks oil.
Bad news is the oil is leaking out everywhere. That's right. Good summary. But the good news is it looks fixable.
See?
See?
The first mate know his stuff.
Alright, let's get this out. The jam had shredded the gaskets that seal the gearbox. Luckily for us, Makani carried gasket paper and punches. Something else to add to our spares inventory for remote cruising. So it looks like we fixed it. It's working again, the gasket's holding, it's not leaking any oil, and the Windlass is turning. We figured out a few gotchas that we need to be aware of though. The main one is that this thing here, the clutch on the Windlass needs to be pretty loose the whole time. If it's too tight and then it gets jammed, the Windlass will literally just tear itself apart. It's quite badly made in my opinion, but that's what it is. And now we know what we have to do and what we have to keep an eye on. A week in the pond flew by, and when the high tide and the wind came at once, we took the chance to get underway again, carefully retracing our steps back to the outside world.
Ooh, we made it! Successful escape from uncharted territory.
So we made it out of the narrow pass. We had Peter on the bow navigating us through, pointing out directions, and me at the helm trying to follow the course exactly as we went in. The tide is a little lower, so we had a little bit less margin for error today, but we made it through without any drama, thankfully. We've got really light wind right now. It's less than 4 knots of apparent coming from dead behind us, but we're managing pretty good speed. We're doing 4.3 with just the Genoa out. We're going to get the main out as well and do wing on wing, I think. Hopefully there in about 4 or 5 hours, so just a short one for today. And hopefully it remains drama-free.
With me on board, that's highly unlikely. And he knows it.
Today's sail was a 24-mile journey from Isla Angel to Caleta Pulpito on the eastern shore of the Sea of Cortez's largest island, Isla Angel de la Guarda.
I love being at anchor and relax and, you know, enjoy all the land's got to offer, but it's such a special feeling every time we are at sea and sailing. It's undescribable. So lucky we are doing this.
That's looking good. We're going dead downwind right now with the Genoa poled out. So that should stop everything rolling around too much in this swell. I just need to get the jibe preventer on the main and we should be stable. Stable as sailing Bohemia ever gets. The wind began to build as we turned towards the anchorage, and we set the sails for a deep, broad reach.
Ooh, proper day of sailing today. Love it. It's like sailing around Cape Horn with that mountain in the background.
Just like the eponymous Cape, this lesser-known mountain was about to show us that it too packed quite a punch for passing sailors.
The wind picked up, it's gusting to 28 knots, and we are plowing through it. It should be calmer once we get past the point.
Looking back, the signs were there that the gusty winds would continue to build as we neared the Cape, but we were too wrapped up in our great progress to notice them. I think now's a good time to reef a little bit, possibly a little bit too late. We don't know whether the calm conditions of the Sea of Cortez had lulled us into a false sense of security, or whether we'd simply forgotten everything we learned on the Pacific coast. But reefing late in a 35-knot gust without rolling in the Genoa made for a brutal experience. Well, that was one of our worst reefs ever. The wind was gusting up to 35 at the time when we turned into the wind to reduce sail, and the sails were everywhere. We spun around too much, the jib got backwinded and pushed us around. So it was a real nightmare. We just about managed to take in enough sail and turn back away from the wind just in time. But the wind was so strong and the waves were spilling in around that point. So everything that could have possibly worked against us did. And the main takeaway, of course, is that the right time to reef is when you first think about it, when you first feel uncomfortable or get that little tingling feeling that the wind is building. We had nearly 40 knots coming over that sharp point. Now it really accelerated the wind. After our little wake-up call from the sea, we were glad to reach the beautiful sheltered bay of the anchorage and settle in.
Wow, what a wonderful place. Really, really happy we came here. This is really secluded, not many boats come here because it's on the other side of Isla Angel. So I'll be surprised if there will be another boat.
Okay, so we're in and it looks spectacular. The only problem with water as beautiful and turquoise as this
is that it means it's quite shallow. So I'm going to go and dive on the anchor and check the surroundings of the boat where we might swing, and just make sure that we have enough room in case the winds change direction overnight.
Join us next time on Sailing Bohemia, where we explore the spectacular Caleta Porpito, taking in the vistas and a thunderstorm.
First rain in 9 or 10 months.
And we continue our journey along the remote west coast of Isla Angel de la Guarda. Special thanks in this episode go to our newest patrons for their generous contributions to Bohemia's bar tab. Thank you to Kevin and Gary from Arizona, who have a wonderful cruise planned to the Sea of Cortez. Thank you to Rachel and Stu from Switzerland, who are planning to cast off their lines on their cruising adventure. And thank you to Dale. Dale, I'm sorry we don't know where you're from, but thank you so much, and here's to you all.
This is me, what are you drinking?
If you enjoyed this episode, then please don't forget to tell YouTube all about it by leaving a comment, giving the video a like, and subscribing to the channel. See you next time!